So that's coming around the bend.
Coming soon to a podcasting room near you.
This is our podcast room. And I like this. Look at us with that lamp. So this could be what we do when we start filming these things, maybe. So,
are we going to start filming these things?
I think so, right? Isn't that what the kids
youths
want?
do? I have no idea. I try not to watch a video if I can help it.
All podcasts are becoming just shows again. Yeah.
But radio, Jeff. I love the radio.
Exactly.
I don't want to see the people
and you
on my radio.
I know. And don't you want to just take us with you with your earbuds and go about your day? You don't have to sit in one spot with your phone with the YouTube.
This does.
We sound old right now just by saying that.
Oh, Jeff, I've sounded old since I was about 10 years old. This does remind me of when I was in college, I listened a lot to the band Pink Martini, who was occasionally joined by Ari Shapiro of NPR fame. And I think they played the Hollywood Bowl once, and he sang with them. He steps up to the microphone and says, "Hello, everybody. I'm Ari Shapiro, and you don't look like I thought you would either."
Well, everyone at home, you're listening to A Little Too Quiet, the Ferndale Library podcast. It's brought to you by the Friends of the Ferndale Library. My name is Jeff, joined as always by Mary Graham.
Hello.
And we're just hanging out. We're doing another episode where we are talking to cool library people around the state of Michigan. Going to be joined in a few minutes here by, and I'm going to go with this, Emily Dumas. Even though Roddy's favorite author is probably with a more French curl to it, a Dumas.
It would be Dumas. It would be
Alexander
the same.
Dumas?
Alexandre Dumas. Yeah, it would be the same, just without the S at the end.
But here in America, we probably just croissant that thing, don't we? We just
really croissanting it would be Dumas, and I know somebody who pronounces their last name like that.
Interesting. Mm-hmm. Wow. I have a friend who is a revoir, but there are others out there who would just be like, no, it's revoir.
Stephen Colbert was born Stephen Colbert. That's how they say their name as a family. That's how his sister says her name.
Wow. Interesting.
But it's, when you got a comedy career, it's funny.
It should be noted, I don't know if it's been here on mic, that Mary Graham is currently in the process of, what is your French project that you're currently on?
I'm currently translating Pierre Beaumarchais' Le Mariage de Figaro, which is the play. It's the play that Mozart's The Marriage of Figaro opera is based on. I am doing it for funsies. I was in fact just reading it on Project Gutenberg whilst waiting for the public to ask me questions. So
I was just about to say, I didn't want to go too far and say that Mary Graham is translating an actual work, but
I am though.
Clearly sounded like too big. Did I misremember that?
No, that's exactly what I'm doing. I haven't done French to English translation since college, but I was given quite a lot of French drama in my education. Actually, my first summer after taking French, my freshman year of high school, my marvelous French teacher who lived near me and my parents asked if I wanted to read a book with her over the summer. And we read Molière. We read Le Bourgeois Gentilhomme because she said, don't start with Little Prince. Mm-hmm. It's fantasy, so it's got a bunch of weird vocabulary. She said, start with plays because you only have to worry about dialogue and some stage directions. Okay. So one summer we read Molière, one summer we read Huis Clos, which is the French title for No Exit of Sartre, and we moved to short stories the year after that. But I really enjoy French theater. So
hey, she's coming in.
Hi, I'm sorry, I was on a Google Meet.
That happens all the time. I'm so sorry. So good to see you. We were actually just pondering the pronunciation of your last name.
Oh, we see a Dumas,
Okay.
but
Okay.
my husband's family, I don't know. I don't think they're my daughter is now starting to pronounce it Dumas.
So that's the whole thing, right? Is that's Alexander Dumas, the author of Three
Yeah.
Musketeers. You probably hear that all the time by now, right?
Yes.
Especially working in libraries.
Uh,
Uh-huh.
so joining us on the podcast now is Emily Dumas slash Dumas, director of the Troy Public Library. Hey, Emily.
Hi.
So
Thanks
good to
for
see
having
you.
me.
Of course. How's it going? What's going on? How's your it's the year is 9 days old.
Yeah, it's already busy here.
Yeah.
We have a lot going on. We're hiring an architect. We're getting a schematic design for a new library building. So,
Whoa.
Like a whole new one?
whole new
Oh
library
my
building.
gosh. Well, congratulations.
Thank you.
And
It'll
hey,
be a
Jeff.
design, and then we can take it to the ballot. So,
Yeah, field trip in a couple of years
Yes.
to see the shiny new Troy building.
Yeah. That's excellent. So yeah, let's start. Well, we'll get your origin story first, but first of all, catch us up. How long have you been at Troy by now? How long have you been
oh
on there?
gosh, it's coming up on 4 years.
Wow.
Yeah, time really flies.
And you started there as a librarian, or did you just fly right in as director?
Director, because I'd been director at Royal Oak.
Ah, that's right. It's all coming back to me. Well, thanks for joining us. This is just a fun little pod where we're checking in with people around the state. And one of our first favorite questions that we like to ask is, what is a popular or prevailing or annoying misconception that the public kind of holds about libraries that kind of bugs you, or that you like to dispel, or you like to correct, or softly, gently correct? I don't know.
Sure,
What do
I'm
people
sure you
not
guys
get
hear
about
this.
libraries?
That no one uses them, and that's not true.
Oh. Right. Yeah. It's like, okay, tell that to my statistics sheet that we
Right?
keep at the desk.
One of my favorite things is when like a family member or a friend or something comes in and is shocked by how busy it is. My sister came in with her baby the other day and she just wanted to, they're both off. She wanted to use the play area. She's like, why is this the hottest ticket in town? She's like, there's so many
Because
people
there
at the library
is no
right now. And I, like,
ticket.
blew her mind.
That's why. It's because there is no ticket. It's free.
Yeah.
It's nice. It's warm.
Oh,
Because as we are recording this, we are going through a massive cold snap here in Michigan.
yes.
Yeah, no. And I don't know if you get this as well, but I will find that people will say that, oh, but nobody uses them, to like your face at cocktail parties.
Oh, yeah.
And my reaction is
people are
always
shameless.
like, first of all, who raised you? And second of all, you're wrong.
Right.
But why would you say something like that?
Oh, yeah, that's the classic. We always get it must be so easy and quiet and chill, and
Yep.
you get to read all day.
And it's like, no,
yeah.
it's,
No.
yeah.
That's another thing too, is sometimes just the situations we deal with. I think people can't wrap their head around. They think it's nice and quiet and we just read.
Yeah. And then every so often, I find that, if you ask someone like, okay, when were the last time you were at a coffee shop and someone was cranky, consider the public.
Right.
And I love the public.
Sure.
And also, when anyone can walk into your building, anyone can walk into your building.
Right.
So,
Yeah.
well, can you tell us a little bit about sort of your library origin story? What made you want to get into library work? Where did you start?
Sure. So my mom was a librarian, a part-time youth librarian at Troy Public Library.
Oh,
So I
wow.
did kind of grow up around the library. She worked here from, gosh, it's probably like 1986 until 2005. So I was always around libraries. I had no interest in going to libraries. So, it's like one of those things where we try not to become our parents and then one day you realize you have. So,
Absolutely.
but I did have other family members too who went into library science. So I got to see my cousins doing it and how much fun they were having. And I was just at this weird crossroads. I didn't know what I wanted to do. I had a psychology major as an undergrad, and there wasn't much you could do without going on for a PhD. So I had to make a decision, and I saw what fun my cousins were having, and I decided to go into it too. And I got my first job at Royal Oak Library in the circulation department. And I never looked back. I had so much fun at that job, and I kind of kept coming back to that library too. So I started at Royal Oak. I took a second job at Ferndale. So yeah, I worked as the teen librarian librarian back in, I think it was 2011, right after the renovation and it reopened. I loved the teens at Ferndale. That was so much fun getting to work with them. Such a great experience. And then I went to Commerce Township Library. I got my first full-time job, so I was a youth librarian there. And that's where my heart always was. I worked with youth and teens. I came back to Royal Oak in 2016 as head of youth and teen services. That was my first management position in libraries. I had no interest in being a director, but the director job came open at Royal Oak, and I thought, I'll just throw my hat in the ring. Didn't think I stood a chance, and I got it. So then I had to really wrap my head around the fact that I got the job, and I surprised myself by loving it. Great. And here I am.
Great.
That's amazing.
9 years later.
I love a great full circle story like that. So when I was in college, actually, I had a professor who lives here in Ferndale, it's Kevin Deacon Krause, who arranged for me to come talk to Dar when she was the acting director at the time.
Darlene Hellenberg, you probably remember Darlene.
Because I just was like, I had an English degree. I was like thinking about libraries. I was like, I don't know what you guys do all day. And Darlene was great and was like, I mean, here is what I do. And then all those years later, there I was applying for a part-time youth job here. And I was like, by the way.
And since I've been here long enough to be part of the furniture, I can tell you that, well, first of all, Emily, I probably said this before, but Mary Graham is a youth librarian. But interestingly enough, your desk is currently where Emily almost used to exactly sit.
Okay.
So Emily already knows where you are. You know where Emily was.
No wonder the vibes are so great.
The vibes are great.
Yes.
Emily, this is kind of a twist on the first question. So we talked about what we know or what we think the public has as far as misconceptions about libraries. But when you first got into library world, did you have your own sort of like, oh my gosh, so this is how it really is kind of moment? Maybe you actually didn't because you have a legacy librarian kind of thing. But did you have a library epiphany of like, oh my gosh, I never knew this is what libraries were?
Yeah. I wouldn't say so much when I first got into it. It was more when I became a director. One thing that's really struck me is how important communication is to the public and transparency to the public is on things. That like even small little changes that I think in a lot of lines of work, you probably wouldn't have to think much of. Yeah. You have to really think about how you're going to convey it to the public. So like as an example, when we went fine free at Troy, which I mean, it really ultimately wasn't that big of a deal. It wasn't going to be that big of a change, but it was a huge campaign we had to do of just making sure the information got out there and reassuring people it was going to be okay and coming up with scripts for how we're going to talk about it and just being prepared for that PR. And that's something that's kind of surprised me is how important the PR side of library work is. And probably a product of social media. Yeah, that people want answers in real time. And that's something I always think about too, is just probably how different it was working in the 80s when, people maybe would come to a board meeting once a month and that would really be their only outlet to voice concerns or ask questions. But now it's like, we had a power outage the other day and people were on social media saying, give us answers. We want to know exactly what happened right now. Please tell us. And, so we had to come up quickly with a response for people because, it's just everything's happening out there in the open and you really just have to be fully transparent as much as possible. There's always going to be some things you can't. I mean, it was a developing situation. So, we told as much as we could. But yeah, it's the importance of marketing and social media strategy and communication strategy. That's something that's really been an eye opener since I've had to take charge.
Well, I couldn't disagree more. No, I'm kidding, because my first year as marketing coordinator here was COVID year. So needless to say, I was busy. And Emma's exactly right that it is so important to let the people know as soon as possible because for listeners at home, we might demarcate the community into two camps: the regulars, the library passionate people, and the non-users, or people who have potential of becoming a library card user. But we don't want them to get the wrong impression. We don't want them to think that our doors are closing and they don't. Well, we don't want. Well, how about this, Emily? We don't want misinformation to spread around, right?
Yeah.
We want to get ahead of that.
And I think that gone are the days, because we've had similar kind of developing situation things within the past couple of years where people are demanding answers on social media, and it's kind of like, whoa, whoa, whoa. First of all, we don't have all the answers. And second of all, there is this nifty little thing called the Library Privacy Act. So
Right.
there are some things that we cannot tell you.
Right.
And I think that, you know, once upon a time, when I was young, perhaps, you may have been getting away with just like, can't tell you. And everyone would be like, all right, I guess. And people do not take that for an answer.
No, because social
That's
media,
Yeah, which is,
the rumor mill, literally.
gosh.
Yeah, and the rumor mill is a wild ride too.
Right.
We had something weird happen too. Our power outage, the same time we had a power outage going on, we had a bug situation, which is every library's worst nightmare because, you know, everybody's concerned. What if it's bed bugs? It turned out to be little baby cockroaches returned in an item that look scarily like bed bugs. But while we were waiting for information on that, then our power just happened to go out. So it was really a question of like having to convey all that information, and people were just melding it together. So the rumor became that the bugs had chewed power lines and that was the reason the power had gone out. So it's really untangling those situations and be like, no, there was this bug issue, not bed bugs. So making sure people are clear on that. And that's not the reason why we're closed. And the power outage was completely unrelated and just a complete coincidence. So it was a weird few weeks.
And that's the kind of thing that, like, I admire folks who do as much. I mean, like, I do public facing information, but the information is where the Penguin books. And, you know, and for y'all who do the kind of like social media interfacing with, I forget Facebook exists half the time,
what a life.
Which is a privilege.
Yeah,
I
it's a
know.
privilege.
And so, you know, I have a lot of admiration for you guys who do that kind of work, because somebody's got to, and I will if no one else will, but
Sure.
I don't really want to.
Sure.
So
Yeah.
So it takes all sorts to make a library run, dear listener.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Can you tell us a little bit more about Troy? And just
Troy.
like, what is your favorite thing? Not even necessarily about working there, but like about it as a library.
It's a big library. It's a big community. I think you guys are a class 5, maybe bigger.
Class 6, yeah.
Oh, wow.
It's the biggest community I've worked for. This community loves their library. So that's what I love the most about it, is they're so invested in the library. And that's, you know, I can see it, how busy it is every day and how much people do care. I mean, people really were concerned about why we were closed and what was going on and how long this would take, whether it was permanent. So people are very invested in the library. They have strong opinions on it, but they really, like, it's a big focal point of Troy. So our mayor called it, he called the gem of the city, which is a really nice thing to say. So yeah, it's a pretty big deal here. And that was something that, you know, I mean, Royal Oak and Ferndale and everything, you know, it just like those were loved by the community. But yeah, Troy is just, it's a different vibe here. And I think it's a lot of it is, this community it's very education focused, and we get a lot of people studying. So that's something that's unique, is you can come in like at any time and all the study tables are taken. And it will be like weird times, like the summer too, at like 4 p.m. every table will be taken, and it's really actively utilized.
You guys probably aren't terribly far from the hospital that I don't know the name of. I don't know if it's Corwell or Beaumont. And I know that that's a training hospital, so I'm sure there's tons of med students, and they're probably coming to your library. Ferndale was once referred to as a jewel, and still is, but is also referred to in the early marketing as an anchor of the downtown, which I love the phrase of. And Royal Oak was kind of close to the downtown. Refresh me again. Is Troy sort of close to a busy area, or is it kind of in its own space?
Yeah, that's a kind of a sticky point in the city. We don't have a downtown.
Okay, yeah. Oh, that's a whole thing. Yeah,
and that's a different, you know, that's a good point too, is I feel like that's why it's such a different vibe than the other libraries I've worked at. I guess Commerce wasn't either, but that was still like this really busy intersection. But yeah, not in a downtown library, people have to choose to drive there is really the reality of it. You know, so it's like when we get kids there, they've been dropped off, and people have had to make the effort to actually, and it's not like really walkable. So they probably had to get in a car or take a bus and come and visit us. So it's just different. It's not like you mosey on by and are like, I'm going to stop into that library. It's people are actively choosing to be there every day.
Okay, so I was going to ask you about what you find most fulfilling about your role at the library. It might also be a fun opportunity to just inform people more about what it is a director does in a library.
Yeah, a director has a little bit of a hand in everything. It would be kind of how I describe it. But, I would say kind of, at least in my case, probably master of nothing. Like I let the departments do their thing and they are masterful at it. And but I do oversee it. And I would say that's probably the most fulfilling part is just being able to ultimately make stuff happen. And again, usually it's going to be my department's ideas, but they come with these great ideas and these great plans, and just to be able to do what it takes to give them the green light on it and then see it come to fruition is so rewarding and so fulfilling. And sometimes you have to be patient because we're still government, there's going to be some red tape, but I always try to, when somebody's passionate about an idea and I could see it working, I always like to try to give it a shot too, because that's where some of the best things I've seen in the libraries I've worked at have come from. So yeah, just kind of letting my staff do the idea creation and then doing what I can do to make it happen is the most fulfilling part.
I also want to shout you out because you make frequent appearances on social media.
Yes.
on TikTok.
That's what
I don't see many directors on TikTok.
Yeah. So I don't know. I didn't know what I was getting myself into. It was a couple years ago. We were able to get a marketing team and we hired somebody to do social media. And Nicole is so creative. You'll see her on there. She's the one with the short dark hair. She does a lot of the dancing.
Oh, the dancer. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yes. Yeah. And she's so good. And she kind of pulled me into one. And it was harder. There's a misconception that social media is easy. It was so much harder than I thought. and it's actually taken a lot of practice to feel comfortable doing it. And I'm one of the at this point, she's always trying to pull more people in, but people get shy about it. So I think it's because I'm always down for it. And I'm down to look like a complete idiot.
Sure. Okay. Yeah. I've seen you on there quite a bit, though. It looks like you're having fun.
Yeah, I am. And that's another thing is, she comes to me with the ideas and I'm like, sure, let's do it.
Yeah. Oh, I should say that Nicole, who's doing those, Mary Graham, you might want to follow them because very recently Nicole went on there and completely replicated the choreography of the dancers in that Glinda song. Mm-hmm. So whatever Bowen Yang is doing in the background, she is doing it step for step.
That is incredible.
Yeah. Big Wicked fan over here.
You do seem to have forgotten that I have no social media.
Oh yeah, that's right.
That
Mary Graham will not be. Mary Graham will not be watching it.
But yes. I am deeply glad that exists in the world.
Yeah, no, that I was so impressed by that too. I love Wicked too, and my daughter and I have been watching that over and over again because we just love it so much. But yeah, that's the kind of the thing that she really puts her talents to use because she's big into theater and dance and singing and. Yeah, she really puts it out there. I have this little bit of ballet training from high school that sometimes she has me be the other dancer and I'm always put to shame when I watch hers. And I'm like, oh, I'll try my best.
Well, and personally, I find that meme making is good for the brain.
Yes.
Or just finding a way. I still think about one of the very first TikToks you ever had me do was the Holy Grenade of Antioch bit from Monty Python and the Holy Grail, but with a picture counting book.
Oh, yes.
So to one thou shalt
2,
not count,
5.
neither shalt thou count to 2 unless thou then proceed to 3. 5 is right out, etc. And I think we got parent feedback where she was like, I've made my children watch this so many times and they don't understand why it's funny, but I can't stop laughing. And that was my introduction to the world of it's a fun, creative part of your brain to get to exercise.
I also say more theater people work in libraries. That is my own
deeply true
theory as to the explanation as to why Milwaukee Library is currently the king of TikTok right now. Because everyone in there must be a theater kid.
Whether you were an onstage theater kid or a backstage theater kid, because you give a backstage vibe.
I'm the back. Yeah, I was the backstage manager.
Yeah,
I was the backstage manager.
Of course you were. Of course.
I had a headset and curtains. Yeah.
And what do you have now? A headset?
And well, I'll get curtains.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sure.
What is something amazing that y'all circulate at Troy, even if it's just for Troy card holders? Like, we love reminding people. I mean, I love reminding people that like we do have books and there are a ton of books, but also
We have other magical
we
things.
have other amazing things. I always love to talk about the DVDs, and usually people say they still make DVDs.
DVDs.
And I say a DVD player is $30, which is like what, 3 months of Netflix now?
Right.
Maybe.
Yeah.
So, what is your favorite thing that Troy circulates?
Yeah.
I have a few answers. So I want to say too, shout out to our bookmobile because we just got a bookmobile in September and it's a legit bookmobile too. Like it's a big bus. And that was one of those like dream projects that finally happened. It was so exciting. And so they're running it year round. We have a community engagement department and she even hired some people and they just handle the bookmobile and take it out everywhere. And I've gotten such great feedback from people in the community who are so happy to have it come visit their neighborhood or their school or their place of worship. And it's just been a great way because we don't have a branch library and we're like a 30 square mile city. So it's been a great way to get the library out there to all corners. So that's really cool. Our experience kits are big circulating items. So they're like these bins that are filled with like they have different themes. So they might do spa night and then they'll have things like, like facial masks, but then they'll also have some collection materials too that, you could listen to a CD of spa music or read a book on relaxation. So they're these themed kits and those are wildly popular. And then finally, we're about to start circulating Rokus. So those will have different streaming services on them because that's something that, like we talk about DVDs and that I just struggle with is like when people don't have DVD players anymore, what do we do? And I've been trying to figure out for so long, like when I was at Royal Oak, how to do that with like, how do you circulate a streaming service? And my head of digital services, Lauren, she heard about this. She's interested in doing it and she's made it happen. So we're about to start circulating these too.
That is genius because even for those of us who do have DVD players and have almost no streaming services, there are things that are never going to come out on DVD. Unfortunately.
We say.
And that drives me bonkers.
Yep.
But here it is. They're never going to put Fellow Travelers, one of my favorite TV shows that I watched last year, that lives on Paramount Plus. They're never going to let me own that gorgeous miniseries with Jonathan Bailey on DVD. But like that's the way to watch it.
And you were saying that sometimes these streaming services are not releasing these shows on DVDs. But if I could adapt a quote from Jeff Goldblum in Jurassic Park, libraries find a way.
It's true. It's
true.
very, very true.
Yes, that is very true.
Oh, I love it.
I feel like that should be the title of the episode.
Libraries
find a way.
We really do find a way. Anything else we left unsaid, or anything else you're looking forward to? Anything? What summer reading is coming around the bend? I know it's January.
We say in January, but
I know it's January.
But like listener, that's literally true for us.
Gosh.
About to get into planning mode.
For that.
Yeah.
Sometimes I miss so much being a youth librarian, but then I don't when I think about stuff like that. It's a lot of work. My hat's off to youth librarians everywhere.
Yeah. But overall, it sounds like you just got a great staff there and just great energy and just great vibe.
Yeah. Well, thank you. I really do. Yeah. My staff is just the best.
Awesome. Well, I'm going to say it again. Emily Dumas, thank you so much for joining us on the podcast.
Thank you for having me. This is so much fun.
All right. Take care.
Thanks. Bye.
Just another day in paradise.
Yeah.
Here at the library. That's not even being sarcastic.
No. I mean,
the only what we do.
The only sarcasm is to the temperature outside.
Oh my God.
We were actually just ranting about the winter today.
We were. I'm so cold.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, really loving this series because it's been so fun to just get people from different departments, stations, desks, roles on a similar vibe of library love in their own little way. We love it.
Which is really great.
Yeah.
Hey, before we go anywhere, I want to ask you, have you read anything good recently? Quick book rec, lightning book rec round.
Oh my gosh. Wait. Okay. Wait. Yes. Yeah. So I just need to confirm the author, but I can tell you that this is impromptu and I love it. Alyssa Alering wrote a book called Smother Moss.
Great
And-
title.
Yes,
I can
indeed.
picture the cover too. It's a gorgeous cover.
Yes, it takes place somewhere in Appalachia, if that's the pronunciation.
It is.
It's about two sisters. One is 17 and one is 14. And there is, well, sort of the under subtext plot is there's potentially a murderer on the loose, and the whole town is kind of nervous about it. But also, the forest has supernatural powers and may or may not be slowly trying to absorb one of the sisters.
Forests in Appalachia have been known to do such things.
Whereas the younger sister is very precocious and charmingly preparing for a zombie invasion because it's set in the 1980s, and she's certain that once the Cold War drops atom bombs that everyone's just going to become irradiated and turn into zombies. So she's a survivalist. And that's kind of the vibe for a little while, and you just watch these two sisters kind of bounce off of each other with their different dynamics, and it becomes a interesting sort of like 15% horror dashed sort of coming of age story, and it has a happy ending, so no one has to worry. Well, not a saccharine ending, but no one gets eaten by the forest, except for ellipsis, no spoilers. So it's kind of, I just really loved that this book was kind of doing whatever it wanted. And
That
was
sounds
along
awesome.
for the ride. Oh, and there might also be a ghost. Who is a helpful ghost. Yeah, Smother Moss, Alyssa Alering.
That's great.
Yeah. But how about you, though?
So yesterday, for the first time in quite some
yeah.
time, I read an entire book in one sitting.
In one sitting.
And that book was We Could Be Heroes
Yeah.
by Philip Ellis. And it is a romance novel. It is about an actor who is not rip-off Chris Evans, but is playing a sort of rip-off Marvel franchise
Sure.
hero who's a sort of a combination of Captain America and Superman.
Okay.
And he's filming the second film in this franchise, and he's also gay and closeted. He's not out at all in the industry or to almost anyone. And he's doing reshoots for this film in Birmingham, UK flavor, not US flavor, and goes out to a gay bar with some of his co-stars and meets this drag queen. Who is also one of the local booksellers.
I'm there.
And
Okay,
they
great.
fall in love.
Great.
And it was just the most marvelous thing. There's actually a delightful subplot about drag queen story time at the Birmingham Library.
Yes.
And it was so touching. Again, I was like, I got home at like 5 yesterday, downloaded it to my Kobo, opened it up, was like, oh, this is all I'm doing. Up to like quickly cook dinner, didn't even do the dishes,
Yeah.
was just like, nope, back to book. Where's the cat? We're just going to sit here until we're done.
Amazing.
Finished it at 10 p.m., went to bed.
Wow.
So highly, highly recommend.
Wow.
Yeah.
And what are we talking here? Like 250 page count, maybe? Ish?
It was on the, well, I was doing it on my e-reader.
Yeah.
So
But you're just flying.
I was just just flying by.
Wow.
But and it's Philip Ellis's second book, so I already have his first novel on hold.
Okay. We could be heroes.
Yes.
I'm curious, if it isn't a spoiler, does the context for that title come up?
No.
Okay.
Like Bowie.
Okay,
as
yeah. Or does it get applied to some, or is it, it's because he's in a superhero movie.
film,
Got it, of course.
Yeah, but it is also actually about like, what does it mean to be, because it's a recent release, what does it mean to be a hero in the face of rising or returning homophobia, transphobia, moral panic about drag queens, moral panic about libraries. And I mean, the my favorite thing about a romance novel is when the stakes feel real.
Yeah.
And not like so impossibly high that I won't believe a happy ending, but real. And like you get the sense that like, yeah, if this actor does come out, it is going to materially affect his career prospects. That has happened to people like Matt Bomer as recently as before he did White Collar. Like this is not a new, it's, or I should say, this has happened a lot more recently than people might think to real life people. I'm sure it is still happening today.
Sure.
And what's more important, is it, it feels productive to be like, oh, it's all about to thine own self be true. But
Right.
hey, to thine own self be true. Or, I mean, James Baldwin talks about if you're not true to yourself, that'll kill you. So Anyway, that's why I read romance novels.
Read
people.
romance novels, but very poignant, substantive.
Yeah.
Commentary.
Exactly,
Love it, but also
exactly.
probably cute at points.
Oh,
Yeah, for
adorable.
sure.
Like so sweet. I finished it and texted a friend who I already knew had read it and was like, oh, that was so delightful. I'm glad that that's one that I own, that I downloaded. And yeah, so that's what I got. Thank you for listening to another episode of A Little Too Quiet, the Ferndale Library podcast, which is brought to you by the friends of the Ferndale Library. I always wanted to do the car talk thing. You've done it. You've gone and wasted another hour listening to car
You
talk.
know it.
But you have not wasted your time doing anything listening to this podcast. We also thank John Duffy for giving us music to open and close each episode. If you want to find more information about supporting this podcast, visit ferndalefriends.org. Please also remember, say it with me, to rate, review, and subscribe. And if you leave us a positive review, it really helps people find us and us find more people.
Yeah.
And then we can continue our plot for library world domination.
Yeah.
Who said that? Anyway, we'll be back next week with more, and thanks for listening.